Right now, the investigation is underway into cyber attacks at water systems in at least 7 states, including Minnesota. Some utilities now forced to switch over to manual operations. But President Trump is rejecting the idea that Iranian hackers are behind these attacks. The president is blaming instead Minnesota and its governor, Tim Walz, despite federal agencies days ago warning that Iranian hackers were targeting the same kinds of systems.
We'll talk about nuclear, and we'll be in there talking about nuclear for 7 hours. I say, why do you need 7? You can take 10 minutes. You have 5 minutes, you should solve it. But 7 hours, and then they'll go out, and I'll say, they discuss nuclear. And they'll go out and they'll say, we never discussed nuclear. And I say, why do they say that? All they do is make me angry. You know, they just make me angry.
President Trump there reportedly ordering a fresh round of strikes on Iran that could start as soon as today or tomorrow. For more, let's bring in House Intelligence Committee Chairman Rick Crawford. Chairman, thank you so much for joining us.
You bet.
I want to ask you about what we might see happen over this weekend. We are waiting to find out if strikes are imminent. What do you think the president should do with Iran?
Well, I think he should finish the job, quite frankly. I think what we see here is he has given them tremendous leash, diplomatically speaking. And it's been met with, complete disrespect. As you heard him say, he talks about nuclear disarmament, and then they come out and say, we never discussed nuclear disarmament. Mm-hmm. I believe that President Trump has given them every opportunity diplomatically to resolve this issue, and they refuse. So there's really nothing more to do. I think that, the red lines have been crossed. He's given them every opportunity, and they're showing no willingness to do it. So I support the kinetic action that's being undertaken now.
There's also this idea that potentially striking them hard in one big wave would do us better, especially because there's these reports out, I'm sure you've seen, of our defense missile capabilities, a shortage of those stockpiles when it comes to the THAADs and the Patriot missiles. This is a Wall Street Journal op-ed I want to read to you here. They write, if the U.S. really is running out of missiles and interceptors, that should be a 5-alarm fire. Mr. Trump should be calling on Congress to skip its recess and do something about it immediately. But if the missile gap is being floated for political purposes by officials who want Mr. Trump to stand down, then the president should banish those voices from the Situation Room. Are we looking at a missile shortage here, sir?
Well, I think magazine depth is always a topic of conversation, whether it's ours or theirs, and that's fair. That's a fair subject to address. But I do think there are some folks that may raise this for political reasons as ammunition to essentially say we don't need to be involved in Iran. And the fact is that this has gone on for 47 plus years. It's time that it's resolved. Iran has used the Strait of Hormuz as leverage to be able to develop weapons of mass destruction. Potentially, we know they've developed ballistic missiles with a pretty extensive reach and range. And they've done that behind their ability to be able to leverage the Strait of Hormuz to their own effect. So that's a red line that's been crossed. We also know that they've had nuclear ambitions for quite some time. No secret there. That has been crossed. This is it's as unfortunate as this is. The time has come, and the president that's willing to address it is sitting in the Oval Office right now. And I applaud his efforts to try to resolve this peacefully, but they seem unwilling to listen to any peaceful opportunities.
Okay, I want to also ask you about these reports that China is potentially supplying weapons to Iran. China has denied this. This is Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent this week, confident that China is not selling weapons to Iran. But here's what he said about what would happen if they were. Watch.
If there were a proven delivery of Manpad's shoulder-powered rockets, that would be very problematic. I think that President Xi has great respect for President Trump. Chinese leadership will make sure that private sector actors do not transact in those kind of weapons.
Chairman, if this is true, if China is indeed going behind our backs and helping Iran out, should the White House be inviting President Xi to Washington in September?
That's a question that's probably better directed to Secretary Rubio and the president himself. But I will say this, that China has an extensive network to be able to distribute weapons to various countries, and so it's quite possible that Chinese originating weapons
Do you
could
think
find
they
their
are?
way into Iran. I don't know. I'm not saying that they are. I'm saying it's entirely possible because that kind of thing has happened before. China has been involved in manufacturing weapons. What they do is they'll, for example, the RPG. That's a very simple, been on the battlefield for decades. RPGs are manufactured in China. They're knockoffs of the original Soviet models. And they found their way across the world in various theaters for decades. So it's not unreasonable to think that some Chinese knockoffs could appear in Iran through proxies. And I think that we have to be concerned about that. But I am encouraged if Secretary Bessent says there's an agreement that there'll be no direct sales from China to Iran, that's encouraging. But we do need to make sure that there's no back channel movement there as well.
If we do discover that this is true and it comes out that this is what they're doing, how would you respond?
Well, I mean, I'm not going to speculate on hypotheticals what the response would be, but certainly the point that you raised about is it appropriate for us to be meeting with the Chinese if they are in fact arming our adversary in the Middle East, I would bring that question up. I think that we want to make sure that we're engaging with the Chinese in good faith and they're engaging in good faith with us. And I'm not sure that's going to be the case if they are working around finding backdoor ways to support Iran.
Especially if it's putting our service members at risk. That
Absolutely.
would be quite a problem. Chairman, thank you so much for joining us. Have a great weekend.
You bet.
Be sure to like and subscribe for all the Fox News latest on YouTube and catch full shows streaming now on Fox One.